You trained for this life, whether you meant to or not. Every day, every habit, every choice has been part of your preparation. The question is not whether you've been training. The real question is, what have you been training for? Some people train to get by. Others train to quit when it gets tough. Some train to avoid responsibility. But a few, a rare few, train to rise, train to stand strong when the winds blow, train to do what others won't so they can live how others can't. See, life is always teaching, always shaping, always molding. Every decision you make is a deposit in your future. No one drifts to success. No one coasts to character. You don't stumble into strength. You build it, rep by rep, step by step, choice by choice. The truth is, whether you trained on purpose or by accident, the result is the same. You become what you repeatedly do. If you've been feeding doubt, you've trained your mind to shrink. If you've been feeding discipline, you've trained yourself to soar. This life you're living today is the harvest of yesterday's habits. And tomorrow will be built on what you choose today. So if you don't like the results, change the routine. If you want a new outcome, start a new regimen. You don't have to stay who you were. You just have to decide who you're willing to become. And remember, the best part is you can start retraining at any moment. Every day is another rep. Every moment is another chance to condition your mind, sharpen your heart, and strengthen your spirit. So don't wait to feel ready. You've already been training. It's time to step up. Time to move forward. Time to live like the person you were meant to be. Not by chance, but by choice. You're always in training. Your habits shape you daily, even when you're unaware. That's the truth, whether you accept it or not. Every morning you wake up, every decision you make, every conversation you have, every attitude you carry, it's all part of your training. You may not have signed up for the program, but life enrolled you the day you were born, and the training never stops. Some people think training is only for athletes or professionals preparing for a big event. But the reality is, we're all in training for the life we're living and the life we're heading toward. And here's the catch: most of the time, we don't even realize what we're training for. When you hit the snooze button 5 times before getting out of bed, you're training. When you grab your phone before you even stretch your legs, you're training. When you tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow for the 5th week in a row, you're in training. You're building a pattern, reinforcing a behavior, laying bricks in the foundation of who you're becoming, and it works both ways. When you decide to push through even when you don't feel like it, you're training. When you show up consistently, when you choose the difficult conversation instead of avoiding it, when you pick discipline over comfort, that's training too. The question isn't if you're training. The question is, what kind of training are you doing? Your habits are the silent architects of your future. They're small, repetitive actions that seem harmless on their own, but over time they add up. One skipped workout doesn't seem like a big deal until it becomes a habit. One junk meal won't break you. But when it becomes a pattern, your health pays the price. One angry outburst might not ruin a relationship, but make it your default response, and soon people start keeping their distance. The power of habit is that it doesn't shout, it whispers, it doesn't force, it persuades, it doesn't strike all at once. It erodes slowly like water wearing down a stone. And by the time you realize what's been happening, you've either built strength or built weakness. The good news: you can change the training. You're not stuck. You're not trapped. Life might have enrolled you without your permission, but the program is adjustable. If your current training isn't producing the life you want, it's time to rework the routine. Start small. One new habit, one better choice, one extra moment of effort. It's not about flipping your entire life in one day. It's about interrupting the cycle and starting a new one. It's about deciding, this is the kind of person I'm becoming, and then living each day as a brick in that new identity. You don't need a fancy routine or a breakthrough moment. You just need awareness and consistency. Pay attention to the small things: what you say when no one's listening, how you treat people when you're tired, what you feed your mind when you're alone. Those are the moments that define you, not the big speeches or the rare opportunities. It's the daily grind. That's where the real training happens. And here's the beauty of it all: once you realize you're always in training, you stop living on autopilot. You become intentional. You start shaping your life instead of reacting to it. You realize that every thought is a seed, every action is a lesson, and every day is an opportunity to move closer to who you were meant to be. So don't let your habits be accidents. Don't train for a life you don't want. Take control of the process. Because whether you're aware of it or not, you're becoming something every single day. Make sure it's something you'll be proud of. Every decision is a deposit in the bank of your future. That's not just a nice idea, it's a principle. Every choice you make, no matter how small, is shaping your tomorrow. Some people think life happens all at once, but life doesn't crash in like a thunderstorm. It builds moment by moment, decision by decision, day by day. Think of your future like a bank account. You're either making deposits or withdrawals, whether you know it or not. And just like with money, the power isn't in the single transaction. It's in the compound effect. You don't get rich from saving $1. You get rich from saving $1 consistently over time. And your life works the same way. That extra hour of sleep instead of exercise, that's a decision. You made a small withdrawal from your health account. Choosing fast food over something clean and simple, another withdrawal. But when you choose to read instead of scroll, you just made a deposit in your growth account. When you take a deep breath instead of lashing out, that's a deposit in your emotional strength account. When you stay consistent with your commitments, even when no one's watching, you've just added something valuable to your character account. You see, the future doesn't get built in the future. It gets built right now. Today is tomorrow's builder. And your decisions are the bricks. Small bricks, big bricks. Some made in pressure, others made in peace. But each one matters, because eventually you'll live in the house you built with those bricks. Some folks wonder how they ended up in a place they never planned to be. But they forget they didn't fall into that place. They chose their way into it. One missed opportunity, one ignored responsibility, one compromised value. It doesn't feel like much in the moment, but little by little the direction changes. And over time they find themselves in a life they didn't want, built by decisions they didn't realize were shaping everything. That's why awareness is power. When you realize every decision is a deposit, you start thinking differently. You don't just ask, what do I feel like doing? You start asking, what's the return on this decision? Is it making you richer in health, mindset, relationships, or purpose? Or is it costing you more than you realize? Now, here's the good part. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be intentional. Everyone makes withdrawals now and then. Everyone slips, falls short, or makes a decision they regret. That's part of being human. But the goal isn't to be flawless. It's to be aware and consistent. As long as you're making more deposits than withdrawals, the balance grows, your life grows, your future gets stronger. The problem is most people think the big moments are what matter, the big interview, the big opportunity, the big test. But what really matters is the training that happened before those moments. And that training is made of decisions, quiet ones, private ones, the kind no one claps for, the kind you make when no one is watching. That's the difference between wishful thinking and personal growth. Wishful thinking hopes the future will be different. Growth makes deposits to ensure it is. You don't get the rewards of success by hoping for them. You earn them by investing in them, daily, diligently, sometimes painfully. So today, take inventory. What have you been depositing? What account have you been neglecting? Maybe you've been busy growing your career, but your relationships are starving. Maybe you've been working hard, but your health account is in the red. Maybe your spiritual life, your inner peace, your character, maybe those accounts have been ignored for too long. You can change that right now. That's the beauty of this truth. Every decision is a new opportunity, a new deposit, and it doesn't have to be dramatic. Drink the water, go for the walk, make the call, read the chapter, speak the kind word, wake up 10 minutes earlier. These are the investments that pay dividends. So the next time you're faced with a choice, and it will come sooner than you think, ask yourself, is this a deposit or a withdrawal? And choose accordingly. Because one day the future will arrive and ask for a withdrawal. Make sure there's something worth taking out. What you consistently do becomes what you unconsciously become. It's one of those truths that sneaks up on you. Not loud, not flashy, but quietly shaping the course of your life. You don't become who you want to be by accident. You become who you are by repetition. You become what you practice, what you allow, and what you return to again and again. Consistency isn't just about productivity or discipline. It's about identity, because after a while, what you do repeatedly doesn't feel like something you're trying to do. It feels like who you are. And that's where the power lies, or the danger. Most people think change starts with a big moment, a major decision, a fresh start, a dramatic breakthrough. But real change doesn't begin there. Real change begins with the small, repeated actions that look insignificant in the moment. The ones you barely notice. The ones you don't think are shaping anything. Wake up late today. No big deal. Skip the workout. Happens all the time. Eat whatever's easy. Everyone does it. But those choices made consistently become your automatic rhythm. Eventually, you're not just someone who's going to work out. You've become someone who doesn't work out. You're not just late now and then. You've become someone who's always behind. The action becomes the identity. And here's the thing your mind is always recording. It's always paying attention to what you reinforce. When you act a certain way consistently, your brain starts wiring itself around that behavior. It builds shortcuts. It creates expectations. Soon, it takes less effort to keep doing the same thing than it does to stop. So if you're constantly feeding doubt, guess what happens? You become a person who doubts everything, including yourself. If you constantly say, I'll never be good at this, your brain agrees and stops trying. If you procrastinate every day, you'll find yourself stuck in delay mode even when you want to move forward. You won't know why. It'll just feel like how you are. But the good news, this principle works in your favor too. Practice honesty. You'll become someone who tells the truth without even thinking. Show up with discipline. It becomes second nature. Speak with kindness. That becomes your default tone. Read, study, reflect, build. You're becoming someone of wisdom simply by repetition. Do the right thing over and over, even when no one's watching, and integrity becomes your reflex. It's not magic. It's muscle memory. Success, strength, confidence, they're all built the same way, by what you consistently do. Not occasionally, not when it's convenient, but consistently. Your character is made from patterns, not moments. Now, that should encourage you and challenge you, because it means you have more power than you realize. You're not stuck. You're not defined by a single bad choice. But you also can't hide behind a single good one. You have to choose the right action again and again until it becomes part of who you are. And here's a tip: don't try to change your whole life in one day. Start with one thing, one new practice, one better habit. Repeat it until you don't have to think about it. Until it becomes so natural, people assume you were born that way. But you'll know you trained for it, you shaped it, you earned it. Be careful what you repeat, because over time, your actions stop being something you do. They become the person you are. Don't let your default be the result of neglect. Let it be the result of design. Let it be built by intention, not inertia. Because when you truly understand this truth, that what you consistently do becomes what you unconsciously become, you stop looking for shortcuts and start laying foundations. And the best part is you can start right now. One action, one choice, one consistent step in the right direction. Repeat it and watch who you become. If you trained in fear, you'll act in fear. If you trained in courage, you'll lead in courage. That's the reality. You don't rise to the level of your intentions when pressure hits. You fall to the level of your training. And whether you know it or not, you've been training your mind, your emotions, and your instincts every single day. The question is, what have you been training for? A fear is a powerful teacher, and it doesn't take much for it to become your default setting. Say no to enough challenges and your mind gets used to retreat. Avoid hard conversations long enough and soon you won't know how to have one. Wait for the perfect moment again and again, and eventually you'll believe action is impossible without certainty. That's how fear trains you, by repetition, quietly, slowly, consistently. You start telling yourself stories like, I'm not ready, or what if I fail, or what will they think? And the more you feed those thoughts, the more real they become, not because they're true, but because they're familiar, because you've practiced them. You've rehearsed the script of fear so many times that now it flows effortlessly. And when life puts pressure on you, when things don't go as planned, when the unexpected shows up, you won't reach for boldness. You'll reach for what you've practiced. If you've trained in fear, you'll grab fear. You'll hesitate when it's time to move. You'll doubt when it's time to decide. You'll shrink back when the moment calls for strength. But the opposite is also true. If you've been practicing courage, small acts of it, daily decisions, you'll be ready when life calls your name. Courage isn't about being fearless. It's about moving forward in spite of the fear. It's built when you choose to speak when silence feels safer, when you try again after failing, when you take the first step without seeing the whole staircase. You don't need to slay giants to build courage. Just face what's right in front of you. That uncomfortable conversation, that long overdue decision, that project you've been putting off. The voice inside you saying, do it anyway. That's your training ground. Every courageous act is a rep in the mental gym. One step builds the muscle. Another step strengthens the resolve. Before long, what used to scare you becomes your new baseline. You start living above fear, not beneath it. And the best part, people start looking to you. Not because you're perfect, but because your courage has become contagious. That's how leadership is born, not from titles, but from training. People don't follow fear. They follow strength. They follow vision. They follow someone who's been practicing what most people avoid. And if you've trained yourself to act with courage when it's hard, then when life shakes, you don't. You stand steady, you speak clearly, you lead. Now, here's the key. You don't wait for the crisis to decide who you'll be. You decide now. Because when pressure comes, you'll default to your training. So take a good look at your habits. Take a good look at your language. What are you practicing? Are you rehearsing worry, or are you practicing hope? Are you feeding panic, or are you building peace? Courage doesn't show up overnight. It's grown in silence, in repetition, in the ordinary moments no one sees. And fear has grown the same way. So don't think of training as something you'll do someday. You're already doing it. Every thought, every reaction, every choice. Start training in courage today. Show up when it's easier to check out. Speak up when your voice shakes. Try even when the outcome's uncertain. It won't be perfect. It doesn't have to be. But every time you push past fear, you make it smaller. And every time you choose courage, you make yourself stronger. Because if you've trained in fear, that's what you'll fall back on. But if you've trained in courage, you'll lead the way through the fire, through the chaos, through the unknown. And make no mistake, life will test you. Just make sure you've trained for the right outcome. No one drifts toward greatness. It's a deliberate pursuit. You don't wake up one day and find yourself in the middle of an extraordinary life by accident. It doesn't happen by chance or by luck or by simply going through the motions. Greatness is not a result of drifting. It's the reward of direction, intention, and effort. If you're not steering the ship, you're going wherever the current takes you. And the current never leads to excellence. It leads to average. It leads to regret. Drifting feels easy. It doesn't ask anything of you. It lets you hit snooze. It lets you play it safe. It tells you there's always tomorrow. Drifting is passive. It doesn't require commitment. And because of that, it's incredibly dangerous. Because you can drift for weeks, months, even years without realizing it. And then one day, you look around and wonder, how did I end up here? But here's the truth. Every great life, every strong character, every significant success, it all began with someone deciding to stop drifting. They didn't wait for motivation. They didn't need a perfect plan. They just made a decision to pursue something more, something better. And they kept deciding every day after that. See, greatness starts with a choice, not a big speech, not a social media post, quiet personal decision. I will not waste this life. That decision gets followed by action, small steps repeated with discipline. And over time, those small steps stack up into something meaningful. It's not glamorous. It's not always exciting. Sometimes it's just doing the right thing when no one is clapping, showing up when it's inconvenient, and staying focused when distraction would be easier. That's what separates those who rise from those who just float. Drifting doesn't require a map, but pursuit does. If you're chasing greatness, you need direction. You need goals. You need a clear why. You need values that guide you and principles that anchor you. Without those things, you'll wander. You'll get pulled by other people's opinions, distracted by trends, or derailed by setbacks. But when you pursue greatness on purpose, with a vision, something powerful happens. You stop being tossed around by life. You start shaping it. You stop waiting for opportunity and start creating it. You stop making excuses and start making progress. And let's be clear, greatness doesn't mean fame or fortune. It means becoming the best version of who you were meant to be. It means living with integrity. It means being excellent in your work, kind in your relationships, consistent in your habits, and faithful in your responsibilities. That's greatness. And it doesn't come from drifting. It comes from showing up day after day when no one's watching and doing the hard work anyway. It's the difference between a life of reaction and a life of creation. When you drift, you react to life. Whatever happens, happens. But when you pursue greatness, you create life. You build something on purpose. And over time, your days begin to reflect your values. Your results begin to reflect your efforts. And your life begins to reflect your choices. So if you find yourself drifting, stop. Don't panic, but don't ignore it either. Take back the wheel. Refocus. Recommit. You don't need to overhaul everything overnight. You just need to decide, today I move with intention. Set the alarm a little earlier. Read the book instead of watching the screen. Have the conversation you've been avoiding. Start the habit you keep putting off. It won't feel like greatness at first. It'll feel ordinary. But that's the secret. Greatness is built on ordinary things done consistently. So remember this: no one drifts to the top of the mountain. No one floats into strength. No one floats into excellence. If you want a life that matters, you have to pursue it. Not once, not twice. Every day, because greatness doesn't come to those who wait. It comes to those who work for it.